The wind has stopped. That's the first thing you notice. Not as relief, not as safety, just as an absence so sudden it feels wrong. The way a sound you've been living inside for 6 hours becomes its own kind of violence when it ends. The house is still. Outside, the light is the color of old pewter, flat and directionless. The sky, a low ceiling of clouds that don't move anymore. You've been in the hallway with your back against the interior wall since 4 a.m. because that's what every piece of preparation told you to do. Stay away from windows, stay on the ground floor, stay put. You stayed. Katrina is gone. You are alive. You stand up. Your knees take a moment. You walk to the front door, the one you duct taped along the bottom seal 2 days ago. And you open it onto a world that has been turned over and left to drain. Roof shingles in the street. A car moved from somewhere and left at the wrong angle, like a toy set down by a hand that lost interest. Water, ankle deep along the curb, running slowly toward the drainage grate at the corner. Manageable. The kind of water that means a bad storm, not a catastrophe. You're already making the calculation of what the next 48 hours look like. Who to call, what will need to be replaced, how long before the power comes back. You survived. The evidence is the street in front of you, damaged but passable. The evidence is your hands, your feet on the porch, the specific weight of a morning after. You go back inside to check on your family. What happens in the next 3 hours will not be the storm. It will be what happens when the storm stops. New Orleans sits in a bowl, not metaphorically, geographically, structurally, physically, a bowl formed by decades of subsidence and development, surrounded by 350 miles of levees, rated, as of the morning of August 29th, 2005, to withstand a Category 3 storm. Katrina made landfall as a Category 4, then weakened, and in the hours after landfall, the official word was cautiously optimistic. The levees were holding, except they weren't. The 17th Street Canal levee had been failing since before landfall. The London Avenue Canal broke in 2 places while the storm was still overhead. The Industrial Canal gave way to the south, and witnesses in the lower ninth described what came through the flood wall not as rising water, but as a wall of it, horizontal, a surge that hit the neighborhood like something that had been waiting. By the time the winds died and the sky went quiet, the flooding had already started. The city was filling from the bottom up. You don't know this yet. Nobody on your street knows it. The radio you've had pressed to your ear for 2 days is still reporting on wind speed, on the track, on what Katrina did or didn't do. The voice on it sounds cautiously relieved. You feel cautiously relieved. You're standing in your kitchen and the water in the street outside is moving the way street water always moves after a bad storm. Slow and brown and purposeful toward the drain. Then the drain stops taking it. You notice it the way you notice something small before you understand it. The water at the curb isn't running toward the drain anymore. It's still. Then, and it takes about 40 seconds to become undeniable, it's moving the other direction. Toward you. Not fast, not like a wave, more like something filling, the way a bathtub fills. Even and patient and completely indifferent to everything you did to prepare. You think overflow from the street. You think drainage system overwhelmed, it'll clear in an hour. You think a sequence of reasonable things that are all correct and all entirely wrong about what's actually happening. What's actually happening is that the water crossing your porch threshold is not rainwater, not stormwater, it's Lake Pontchartrain. 630 square miles of it. Entering the city through 3 separate breaches at a rate the Army Corps will later calculate at roughly 200,000 cubic feet per second. It's cold in a way that rain runoff isn't, cold in a way that tells you it came from depth, from somewhere that hasn't seen sun. It smells different. You clock the smell before you have words for it. River mud and something older underneath, something that belongs underwater and has never been in contact with the air. By the time it crosses your threshold, there's enough current in it that you feel it against your shins. It's 4 inches deep at your door and still climbing. You grew up in this house. You know the floor plan the way you know your own palm. Every threshold, every step, every place the wood has softened over years of living. The living room sits 3 inches lower than the kitchen, a thing your father mentioned once and you never fixed. The water finds those 3 inches in about 30 seconds. It spreads across the living room floor while you're already on the stairs, already telling your family to get higher. They're awake. They've been listening to what water sounds like when it comes inside a place it was never supposed to be. It doesn't sound dramatic. It sounds like rain in a room with no ceiling. The things you grab: a go bag by the bedroom door, your phone, the medication from the nightstand, your daughter's sneakers because she forgot them when you all moved upstairs the night before and her feet are bare. The things you don't grab: the photographs in the living room, the documents in the kitchen drawer, the car keys, though the car is already underwater to its door handles. You bring all of it to the second floor. You put your daughter in the corner farthest from the windows. Then you stand at the top of the stairs and watch. There's no way to explain what it takes to stand there without moving. The water is at the fourth step from the bottom. It's dark, not black, more the color of old concrete, and it carries things: insulation, a yellow plastic cup, a piece of door frame separated from its door. It doesn't hurry. That's the thing that's worse than the wind was. Worse than Katrina's outer bands at 3 a.m. Where? Worse than anything that came before it. The wind screamed, "This is quiet. This is just filling," the way anything fills a space when you take the barrier away. Outside, across the street, there's movement. You go to the window, you look down. Your neighbor Margaret is on her porch. She's wearing the same house dress she had on when she passed you on the street 2 days before the storm and told you she wasn't going anywhere. That she'd ridden out Betsy in this house in 1965 and she'd ride this one out too. She's 81. She mentioned her hip twice in that conversation without seeming to notice she was doing it. She told you she'd filed down the broken tooth on her bottom floor window key herself because nobody made them right anymore. She's standing in water that's at her waist, standing very still. You run the math the way the brain runs math when there's only one kind that matters. 15 meters from your window to her porch. The water between you is chest high and rising. You've been clocking it against the stair treads for the past 40 minutes, roughly 6 inches an hour. That means in 40 minutes the water is over Margaret's head. It means she can't reach your door. It means the only way to close 15 meters is to go into it yourself. There's a roof access hatch above the second floor bathroom. If the water keeps rising, and it will, you know it will, you can feel the pressure of it against the walls. The flat section above it will be the last safe ground you have. 3 people to get there, a 6-year-old with bare feet, 60 feet of angled surface between the hallway and the hatch. And one flotation device, an inflatable camping mattress your brother-in-law left in the hall closet 3 summers ago and never came back for. The mattress can support 1 adult. Maybe. Margaret isn't moving. She's gripping the railing with both hands, looking straight ahead, standing in water that is, as you watch, reaching her chest. She doesn't call out. You don't know if she knows you are there. Down the hall, your daughter asks you something in a voice doing the thing children's voices do when they're trying to sound calm and the effort is audible underneath every word. You're holding the mattress. In 30 minutes, the flat roof is the only thing above water on this block. In 30 minutes, Margaret can't stand on her porch. In 30 minutes, 15 meters of moving water sits over the tops of the drowned cars and the drowned street and everything that was, until yesterday, a neighborhood. You know what's upstairs. You know what's outside. You stand at the window. The water is at Margaret's shoulders. Behind you, your daughter goes quiet. Not the quiet of a child who's been reassured. The quiet of one who's decided silence is the better option. That silence is its own weight. You're holding it along with everything else. You go out the window. Not a decision. Exactly. The decision happens somewhere in the 40 seconds at the window. Below language, below the level where reasons live. Your body was already moving. The water hits you at the waist and it's cold. Not rain cold, not pool cold. The cold of something that's been underground. Something that's never been in the sun. The current presses from the north, from the direction of the canal, steady and purposeful, reading your weight the way a river reads the weight of anything you put in it. You push the mattress ahead of you. The 15 meters takes 4 minutes. At some point, the water is at your chest and you're no longer walking but angling into it, using your hips as a rudder. Margaret sees you when you're 8 meters out. She doesn't say your name. She says, I knew someone would come. The way she says it, like she's been holding the sentence in her mouth for hours, waiting for a place to put it. You get her onto the mattress. You get her to the window. Your family gets her through it. The next 10 minutes don't come back to you in order. You remember her weight, less than you expected. You remember the smell of the water. You remember the way your daughter's voice changed when she saw you come back through the window. The roof hatch takes all 4 of you into the afternoon. 7 hours after you first watched the water cross your threshold, you're on 17 inches of flat asphalt with the city spread below you, dark and full of water, lit by nothing except the occasional sweep of a rescue helicopter that can't land on anything you're standing on. At some point in the night, Margaret sleeps. Her breathing is steady, her hand resting flat on the asphalt beside her. Somewhere across the city, in a pattern that won't be fully mapped for months, 655 people who didn't leave died in the flooding. Most of them drowned inside their own homes. Most of them were, like Margaret, elderly. Most of them didn't reach a roof. You sit on the asphalt. The water below you is still. The city is quiet in the way places go quiet when the thing that made them what they were is gone. In the dark, from 17 inches of roof, there's no way to know what's left down there and what isn't. The window you came back through is still open. The camping mattress is somewhere below the waterline. You didn't go back out a second time. You tell yourself it was because you had to get Margaret stable, had to account for your family, had to... By the time you were at the window again, the current had shifted direction. Both of those things are true. You'll spend a long time figuring out what they add up to. In the morning, the helicopters come in numbers, and from the roof, you can see what the neighborhood is now. A surface, brown and still, broken by roof lines and the crowns of oak trees and the occasional second floor window with a bed sheet hanging from it. Like a flag, like a question, like something a person put there because there was nothing else left to put. The streets are gone. The cars are gone. The school on the next block has water to its second floor windows. Margaret is sitting up, watching the helicopters. She hasn't asked about her house. You think about the 655, though you don't have that number yet. You think about who else passed this night from a roof and who didn't, and whether the difference between your roof and their house is something you did or something that was done to you both, and whether that distinction is real or just something the brain builds to make survival feel earned rather than distributed. The water doesn't have a position on that. It didn't choose the lower 9th over Lakeview, didn't choose uninsured homes over insured ones, didn't choose the people who couldn't leave over the people who could. It found the places the barriers failed and filled them. Someone decided years before August 29th, 2005, that the levees protecting nearly 500,000 people were adequate for a Category 3 storm. That decision was reviewed, budgeted, approved, filed in the correct offices. The paperwork exists. The signatures are on it. Margaret's hand is still flat on the asphalt. The sun is up now. You don't know yet if she'll be able to go back to her house. You don't know if you will. You don't know whether what you did last night was the right calculation or simply the only one your body knew how to make in the 40 seconds at the window. You went back. You know that. What you're still working out is whether that tells you something about who you are or something about what it took and who didn't have it, and whether those are the same question,